They don't break you. They just make you doubt yourself. Gaslighting doesn't need to be loud. It doesn't need to insult you or lie directly to your face. All it needs is one seed. Are you sure you're not overreacting? That's it. From there, you start replaying your tone, doubting your feeling, editing your memory to fit their version of events. And suddenly, you're the problem. Not because they proved it, but because you couldn't hold your own signal long enough to stop the loop. That's how it works. They don't dominate you. They destabilize you by pushing just enough to make you explain, re-express, reconsider. And every time you do, you shift a little more toward their frame. Cold mind doesn't fight that with emotion. It fights it with stillness. No defending, no flinching. Just holding the line until their script breaks itself. It only works if you explain your way into submission. Gaslighting doesn't win with logic. It wins by hacking your uncertainty. Gaslighting isn't about facts. It's not about proving you wrong. It's about getting you to do that job yourself. They don't have to attack. They just have to tilt. A tone, a pause, a sideways glance followed by, "Wow, that's how you took it?" And suddenly, you're in your head, running the tape, replaying what you said, how you said it, if maybe you were too harsh, or maybe too emotional. But here's the truth. Gaslighting doesn't overpower you. It disorients you. It creates a gap between what you felt and what you're now allowed to trust. And in that gap, you spiral, because your nervous system has been trained to prioritize harmony over conviction. It doesn't ask, "Am I right?" It asks, "Will I still be safe if I hold this?" So when someone challenges your perception, not with force, but with calm disbelief, your body starts folding before your mind catches up. This is why gaslighting works best on people who've been conditioned to over-explain, over-analyze, and over-own things that were never theirs to carry. You weren't manipulated by brilliance. You were hijacked by your own need to stay emotionally correct. Cold mind sees it clearly. The attack isn't in their words. It's in the signal distortion they subtly inject to make you question your emotional red. And if you don't catch it fast, you'll be 3 steps deep into doubting your own reality, while they stay cool, measured, and fully in control. Gaslighting only works if your system is trained to fold the moment tension enters the room. Hold still, and it loses its grip. From knowing to doubting, the invisible loop that breaks you. It starts small. You feel something. You name it. You speak it. Clear. Grounded. Real. Then comes their response. Are you sure that's what happened? You might be reading too much into it. You always take things so personally. And just like that, the loop begins. You pause. Rethink. Second guess. Not because they proved you wrong, but because they implied that your perception isn't stable enough to be trusted. And that implication is the virus. Now your system kicks in. Was I too sensitive? Maybe I misunderstood. Should I reword that? Maybe I'm the one overreacting. This isn't about truth. It's about emotional destabilization. And here's the dangerous part. Every time you do that inner spiral, you reinforce a deeper message. I don't get to trust myself until someone else confirms it. That's the core of the loop. You feel something. They reframe it. You start to explain. They stay neutral. You over-own the dynamic. They gain authority over what's reasonable. You lose trust in your own read. You silence yourself earlier next time. Cold mind sees the trap, because the loop doesn't just kill your voice. It rewires your nervous system to default to doubt every time you sense friction. You no longer ask, "Is this feeling valid?" You ask, "How do I present this in a way that doesn't make them uncomfortable?" And that's not empathy. That's self-erasure. So you stop sharing. Or worse, you keep sharing, but with a built-in apology attached to every word. Gaslighting doesn't always silence you. Sometimes it trains you to silence yourself before they even have to. The most dangerous gaslighting is the kind you complete on their behalf. Reverse gaslighting. Break their frame. Without saying too much, you don't beat gaslighting by defending. You beat it by refusing to play the script. Cold mind doesn't explain. It doesn't panic. It doesn't try to be understood. It holds. And when done right, it makes the one trying to confuse you get confused by their own strategy. That's reverse gaslighting. Here are 3 cold tactics that flip the frame without force. 1. Hold neutral stillness. When someone tries to destabilize you, don't flinch, don't rush to correct. Don't even change your expression. They say, "Wow, you're really overthinking this." You stay still. Let it land. No energy leak. Why? Because silence in the face of manipulation creates pressure. You don't deny, you don't confirm, you just refuse to be pulled. And that refusal, it forces them to keep talking. And that's where their script begins to collapse. 2. Repeat their words back, with precision. Not emotionally, not sarcastically, just calmly. "So, you think I'm imagining this?" Or, "You're saying the way I experienced that isn't real." Now they're looking at their own tactic in the mirror. You're not arguing. You're holding up the line and letting it reflect. And most people, when confronted with their own framing, start stumbling. 3. Don't co-validate their confusion. When they act like they're not sure what you mean, or try to twist the narrative, don't explain again. Don't repackage your truth to make it easier. Just say, "I'm clear on what I felt. I'm okay if you don't agree." That sentence, unbreakable, because it ends the tug of war, and they don't even get to tie the first rope. You're not cold. You're closed to manipulation. Reverse gaslighting doesn't overpower. It simply stands so still, so centered, that the other person runs out of tactics that work. You don't flip their logic with emotion. You flip it with silence they can't decode. She didn't argue. She reflected. And he backed off. It started with a simple confrontation. He said, "I think you're overreacting. That wasn't my tone at all." In the past, she would have rushed to explain, softened her voice, walked him through why she felt what she felt. But this time, she didn't. She paused, held her breath, stayed still. Then she looked him in the eye and said, "So you're saying what I felt didn't happen?" There was no anger, no defensiveness, no sarcasm, just precision. He blinked, wasn't ready for that. He expected her to fold or to escalate. Instead, she held the line, and suddenly, he had to fill the space. "Well, I didn't say that. I just meant, maybe you took it wrong." She didn't react, didn't clarify, didn't chase his discomfort. She just responded, "I'm okay with you seeing it differently, but I'm not questioning what I felt." Silence followed, tight, heavy, uncomfortable, but hers. He tried to laugh it off, changed the subject, didn't push further. Why? Because she didn't join his frame. She didn't give him confusion to work with. She gave him a mirror and no leverage. That's reverse gaslighting in motion. No emotional spikes, no mental gymnastics, no argument to win. Just presence so still that the game broke itself. She didn't need to be louder. She just needed to stop giving him a version of herself he could twist. Final message. You weren't confused. You were being pulled. You weren't unsure. You were steady. Until someone twisted the frame just enough to make you doubt your own signal. That's how gaslighting works. Not by shouting over you, but by whispering doubt into the parts of you that still seek permission to trust yourself. And you've done it for years. Second-guessing truth, explaining feelings, asking invisible questions like, was I too much? Did I read that wrong? Maybe it's just me. But cold mind knows. Clarity doesn't require confirmation, only stillness. Reverse gaslighting isn't about proving a point. It's about refusing to leave your center. You don't need to convince. You don't need to correct. You don't even need to explain. You don't need clarity from them. You just need to stop leaking yours. Because most manipulation doesn't overpower you. It waits for you to unplug from your own system. And once you stop doing that, the loop ends. In the next video, we'll dive into thought detox, how to identify the mental noise that hijacks your clarity before you even open your mouth. Subscribe. Hold still. Let their logic collapse on its own.